Hey guys. Tonight we delve into a case that starts not with a bang, but with a whisper, or rather, a sniff. Imagine an ordinary worn leather wallet, something you might have in your own pocket right now. But this one holds a secret, a ghost woven into its very fibers, an odor so peculiar that it would lead one detective down a rabbit hole of deception that spanned 5 years and crossed multiple states. It's a story that proves the most earth-shattering conspiracies can begin with the smallest, most overlooked details. Honestly, you probably shouldn't be listening to this alone. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's a small click for you, but it makes a world of difference for the channel. When you're done, drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your journey begins on a Tuesday. Not a dark and stormy night, but a painfully bright, fluorescent-lit Tuesday afternoon in the grimy heart of the 12th Precinct's property and evidence room. This is the place where forgotten lives and bad decisions come to rest, gathering dust in gray plastic bins. Detective Markson isn't a hotshot, not the kind you see in the movies kicking down doors. He's a property crimes guy, which means he deals in the aftermath, in the quiet, frustrating puzzles left behind. His world is pawn tickets, forged checks, and stolen bicycles. Today, his grand mission is to clear out the civilian lost and found bin, a task he performs with the enthusiasm of a man flossing a crocodile. He pulls out a half-eaten bag of stale pretzels, a single child's mitten, a paperback novel with a lurid cover. Then his hand closes around it, a man's wallet. It's standard issue, brown leather, bifold, softened with age. There's no visible name, no distinguishing marks. It's the kind of wallet 1,000 men in this city carry. He's about to toss it into the process for catalog tray when he pauses. He lifts it closer to his face. There's a smell. It's not the familiar scent of worn leather or the faint metallic tang of pocket change. It's sharp, clinical, and strangely clean. He sniffs again, his brow furrowing. It has a high note of something like rubbing alcohol, but underneath there's a deeper, almost sweet, organic layer. It's a phantom scent, like an industrial cleaner trying and failing to mask something that has long since seeped into the material. The irony is thick enough to taste. Here, in a room that perpetually smells of dust and decay, this wallet smells aggressively, unnaturally sterile. It's the first small tear in the fabric of a normal Tuesday. He places it on the stainless steel counter, the gesture more deliberate than the object seems to warrant. His partner, a younger, more eager detective named Chen, glances over. "Find a winning lottery ticket in there, Mark?" Markson doesn't answer. He puts on a pair of latex gloves, a flicker of something beyond routine diligence in his eyes. He opens the wallet. Inside, everything is perfectly in its place. A driver's license for one Mr. Arthur Finch, age 54, a Visa, a MasterCard, and American Express, a health insurance card, $47 in cash, a 20, 2 10s, a 5, and 2 1s, all disconcertingly crisp. And tucked in a side pocket, a dry cleaning receipt from a place 2 towns over, dated 3 weeks ago. It's a perfect snapshot of a man's life. Too perfect. The cards are pristine, with no scuffs or scratches from being slid in and out of card readers. The driver's license photo shows a bland, smiling man who could be anyone's uncle. Everything about it screams normal. Yet the scent, that weirdly antiseptic scent, screams wrong. "What is it?" Chen asks, walking over. "Smell this," Markson says, holding the open wallet out. Chen leans in, sniffs, and recoils slightly. "Ooh, smells like a dentist's office. Maybe the guy's a chemist or just a neat freak." But Markson is already thinking past that. He carefully removes the contents, laying each item out on the counter. He sniffs the cash, nothing. The credit cards? Plastic, that's it. The license? Same. The odor is emanating from the leather itself, faint but persistent. It's as if the wallet was soaked in a specific chemical solution and then meticulously wiped down, leaving only a ghost of the smell behind. This is the second moment of dissonance. The act of cleaning something implies it was once dirty. Why would you chemically scrub a wallet? This is where the case truly begins. This is no longer a lost and found item. For Markson, it's now evidence. The problem is, evidence of what? There's no reported crime connected to an Arthur Finch. A quick search shows no warrants, no missing person reports. The man, according to the system, is a ghost. A law-abiding, utterly unremarkable ghost. "I'm bagging it," Markson announces, reaching for an evidence bag in the chain of custody form. Chen scoffs. "Bagging it for what? Possession of a weird-smelling wallet? The sergeant's gonna laugh you out of his office." Markson ignores him. He meticulously logs the wallet, the cash, the cards, sealing them in plastic. He's establishing an unbroken line of possession, a fundamental step in ensuring anything he finds is admissible in court. As he writes, he can't shake a nagging thought about the plain smell doctrine. It's a real legal principle that allows an officer to search a vehicle, for instance, without a warrant if they smell something illegal, like marijuana. But legal scholars have long debated its limits. Does it apply to a smell that isn't immediately identifiable as contraband? Can an officer's subjective hunch on a suspicious but unknown odor stand up in court? A good defense attorney would tear that argument to shreds. They'd argue it was just a pretext, a violation of the Fourth Amendment based on nothing more than a cop's overactive imagination. He knows Chen is probably right. On paper, he has nothing. But his instincts, honed over 15 years of sifting through the debris of other people's lives, are screaming at him. The pristine condition of the contents, the uncurny scent, the very fact that it was found here, in a police station. It feels less like a lost item and more like a dropped piece of a puzzle, a piece someone might have dropped on purpose. The wallet wasn't lost, it was discarded. And as Detective Markson stares at the sealed bag on the table, a cold certainty settles in his gut. The question isn't who lost the wallet, but who is Arthur Finch? And why did someone go to such lengths to scrub him clean?
His partner Chen thinks he's lost his mind, chasing a ghost based on a smell. But you're not chasing a ghost. You're holding a piece of it, sealed in plastic on your desk. The wallet sits under the cheap fluorescent glare of your office, an island of unsettling cleanliness in a sea of cold case files and coffee-stained paperwork. You know the sergeant will want a formal report, and "it smelled funny" isn't going to cut it. You need something concrete. So you start with the basics, the digital breadcrumbs everyone leaves behind. You run the driver's license number for Arthur Finch. The system pings back instantly, valid. Issued 18 months ago. Address, 1422 Elm Street, a quiet suburb just outside the city limits. No flags, no warrants, no prior offenses. Clean as a whistle. You run the credit card numbers, they too come back as active and in good standing, all issued to Arthur Finch at the same Elm Street address. The oldest account was opened just under a year ago. It's all a neat, tidy package. But it's the tidiness that bothers you. Most people's lives are messy. They have old addresses, a forgotten parking ticket, a credit card they opened in college and forgot to close. Arthur Finch's official record seems to have sprung into existence fully formed about 18 months ago. You grab your keys. A drive is better than staring at a screen. Elm Street is exactly what it sounds like. Rows of modest, well-kept houses with manicured lawns and basketball hoops in the driveways. You pull up to 1422, a small brick house with blue shutters. A garden gnome stands guard by the front steps, its painted smile faded and chipped. You ring the doorbell. After a moment, the door opens, and an elderly woman with kind eyes and a floral apron peers out. "Can I help you, officer?" she asks, her voice soft. "I'm Detective Markson. I'm looking for a Mr. Arthur Finch." She gives you a puzzled look. "Finch? I'm sorry, officer, there's no one by that name here. My husband and I have lived in this house for 32 years. It was the Millers before us." This is it. The first solid crack in the facade. The address is real, but the resident is a phantom. It's a classic, almost lazy criminal move. Use a real address that has nothing to do with you, hoping any mail or inquiries will just get lost in the system or return to sender. The irony hits you. The perpetrator was so careful with the chemical scent, but so careless with the address. Or maybe not careless. Maybe confident. Confident that no one would ever dig this deep over a simple lost wallet. Back at the precinct, you feel a surge of vindication. You're not crazy. You spread the contents of the wallet out on your desk again, under the bright, unforgiving light of your desk lamp. The cash, the cards, the license. You pick up the license. The photo of the bland, smiling man stares back at you. Everything about it looks right. The font, the placement, the state watermark. But your grandfather was a watchmaker, and he taught you that the devil isn't just in the details, he is the details. You pull a small jeweler's loop from your desk drawer, a tool you normally use for checking forgeries on antique documents. You bring the license close, pressing the loop to your eye. You scan the surface, inch by painstaking inch, and then you see it. It's not the photo, it's not the text, it's the hologram of the state seal. That shimmering, supposedly counterfeit-proof image. To the naked eye, it's perfect, but under 10x magnification, you can see what shouldn't be there. A faint, almost imperceptible pixelation pattern along the curved edge of the eagle's wing. It's the ghost of a digital printer. An official state press uses engraved plates that leave a smooth, continuous line. This was made with a machine. An incredibly sophisticated, high-resolution machine, but a machine nonetheless. It's an almost perfect copy. The odd detail? It's perfection. It's too clean, lacking the microscopic imperfections of mass government production. Now you have him. This isn't a hunch anymore. This is a forged government document. This is a felony. This gives you all the probable cause you need. You dive back into the databases. But this time, you're not looking for Arthur Finch of 1422 Elm Street. You're looking for any Arthur Finch with the same date of birth. The search casts a wider net, and after 20 minutes of cross-referencing public records, you find him. The real Arthur Finch. He lives in a different state, has a different middle initial, and works as a mid-level accountant for a paper supply company. You dial his number. The man who answers sounds exactly like you'd expect. Polite, methodical, and slightly annoyed at the interruption. You identify yourself and ask him if he's recently lost his wallet. "No, officer," he says, a hint of tired patience in his voice. "It's right here in my back pocket. I just checked." You take a deep breath. "Mr. Finch, I need you to listen very carefully. I am holding a wallet containing a forged driver's license with your name and date of birth on it, along with 3 major credit cards opened in your name." There's a long pause on the other end of the line. That's impossible," he finally stammers. The confidence is gone, replaced by a tremor of confusion. This is the moment you've come to dread in these calls, the moment a person's solid reality begins to dissolve. You ask him about any recent oddities in his finances. He thinks for a moment. "Well, I was denied a car loan last month. They said my debt-to-income ratio was too high, which made no sense. And I got a strange bill from a home electronics store in your state. I threw it away. I assumed it was a mistake." The chilling reality dawns on him live on the phone. For almost a year, someone has been living a parallel life with his identity, spending his good credit, methodically destroying his financial future, and he was completely, blissfully unaware. This case has now escalated. This isn't just about recovering a stolen wallet, it's about uncovering a professional identity theft operation. As you hang up with the now panicked but cooperative Mr. Finch, you lean back in your worn office chair. A troubling legal question surfaces, a specter that haunts every case built on a shaky foundation. The doctrine of the fruit of the poisonous tree. This legal theory holds that if the source of the evidence, the tree, is tainted, then anything gained from it, the fruit, is tainted as well and cannot be used in court. Your entire investigation, every piece of evidence you've just uncovered, grew from one single questionable act, seizing and scrutinizing a wallet based on nothing more than a weird smell. Legal experts constantly argue over the application of this rule. Could a sharp defense attorney convince a judge that your initial search by smell was an unconstitutional violation of privacy? If they succeeded, your entire case would evaporate. The forged license, the testimony of the real Mr. Finch, everything, inadmissible. Your entire investigation rests on the legal legitimacy of a hunch. But right now, that's a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, you know one thing for sure. The wallet wasn't a mistake. It was a tool, used and discarded. And the craftsman who made it is still out there.
The case of Arthur Finch has now burrowed under your skin. It's no longer a curiosity on your desk. It's an obsession that follows you home. You've spent the last 3 days mapping out the fraudulent life of the fake Arthur Finch. The credit card statements, which the real Arthur has now forwarded to you, paint a picture of a man with expensive and very specific tastes. High-end electronics, premium art supplies, custom-ordered chemical glassware from a scientific supply company. It's a strange shopping list, a mix of the artistic and the clinical. Each purchase was made online and shipped to a different P.O. box or a third-party mail drop. A network of ghost addresses that evaporate as soon as you start looking into them. The perpetrator is a phantom, but one with a clear methodology. You're staring at a map on a corkboard, colored pins marking the delivery locations. It's a spider web of dead ends. Your captain is breathing down your neck, wanting to know why you're sinking so much departmental time into what he calls a garden-variety plastic fraud. He sees a single victim. You see a craftsman's signature. You see the meticulous forgery, the pristine credit cards, the deliberate use of throwaway addresses. This isn't garden variety. This is professional. But you can't get anyone else to see it. Chen, your partner, has moved on to a string of liquor store robberies, leaving you alone with your wall of string and your peculiar theories. Then, a lifeline. It comes not as a brilliant deduction, but as a department-wide email on a Thursday morning. A fraud bulletin from a precinct in a neighboring state, 300 miles away. The email is dry, bureaucratic. It details a case they're working on, a woman named Eleanor Vance, a retired librarian whose identity was stolen to secure a small business loan for a shell corporation. The loan, for $50,000, was approved, the funds were withdrawn, and the corporation vanished. A standard white-collar crime file, the kind that usually gets buried under a mountain of more pressing violent crimes. Ordinarily, you would have deleted the email without a second thought. Your jurisdictions don't overlap. But one line, buried deep in the summary report attached to the email, makes the hairs on your arms stand up. The investigating detective, a woman named O'Malley, had interviewed the loan officer at the bank. The officer mentioned something odd. The folder of documents the suspect had submitted, the forged tax returns, the fake business plan, the counterfeit social security card, it had a smell. The officer couldn't place it. He described it as like a hospital, but sweeter. That's it. That's your scent. The same phantom odor you detected on the leather of Arthur Finch's wallet. It's an almost impossibly thin thread to connect two seemingly random crimes in different states, but it's all you have. The irony is staggering. In an age of digital forensics, metadata analysis, and IP tracking, your best lead is a smell. You pick up the phone and call Detective O'Malley. At first, she's skeptical. You can hear the weary sigh of a cop who gets too many calls from crackpots. So let me get this straight, she says, her voice thick with Boston Irish skepticism.
You think our cases are connected because some paperwork smelled weird? The same way a wallet you found smelled weird? It's not just weird, you insist, trying to keep the desperation out of your voice. It's specific, clinical, with a sweet organic undertone, like a high-proof alcohol mixed with something else. There's a pause. I imagine her rolling her eyes. But then she says, "The loan officer said it smelled aggressively clean, like someone had tried to wipe it down." Your heart quickens. It's the same signature, the same obsessive, unnecessary act of cleansing. You fax her a copy of the magnified image of the flawed hologram on Finch's license. An hour later, she calls back, her tone completely changed. "We just put the Vance documents under a scope. Same thing, a near-perfect forgery of our state seal, but with the same microscopic pixelation on the edges. You're onto something, Markson." Suddenly, you're not a lone wolf anymore. You have an ally. You and O'Malley spend the next 2 days on the phone comparing notes. The pattern is the same. The victims, Arthur Finch and Eleanor Vance, have one thing in common: impeccable credit and a very low-key digital footprint. They aren't on social media. They don't use online banking. They are the perfect targets, financially stable yet digitally invisible, making them less likely to notice discrepancies quickly. The criminals aren't just stealing identities, they're curating them. The most unusual detail emerges when you dig into the shell corporation from the Vance case. It was registered as an importer of rare botanical extracts, a strange, almost poetic cover for a fake company. You remember the list of purchases on Finch's fraudulent credit cards, art supplies, and chemical glassware. A picture begins to form in your mind, hazy at first, of a criminal who is part artist and part chemist, someone who doesn't just commit fraud, but crafts it, with an almost artisanal dedication. The two of you, separated by 300 miles, are now looking at the edges of something much bigger than either of you suspected. This isn't about two isolated incidents. This is the work of an organization, a quiet, patient, and highly skilled one. They've been careful, but they made one mistake. They have a signature, a scent. This discovery opens up a fresh legal debate, one that police departments grapple with constantly: the issue of interjurisdictional cooperation. Officially, you and O'Malley are in different worlds, bound by different chains of command and budgets. Sharing information is one thing, but launching a joint investigation is a bureaucratic nightmare. Who takes the lead? Whose resources are used? Who gets the credit or the blame? Experts in law enforcement policy still argue whether the decentralized nature of American policing, with its thousands of independent departments, is a strength that fosters local accountability or a crippling weakness that allows sophisticated multi-state criminal enterprises to slip through the cracks. Right now, you and O'Malley are operating in a gray area, an informal alliance born of a shared, bizarre clue. As you hang up from your latest call with her, you look back at your corkboard. You add a new pin for the Vance case, a bright red one in another state. A string connects it to Arthur Finch's pen. It's not a spiderweb of dead ends anymore. It's the beginning of a map that follows the trail of a single ghostly scent, leading you deeper into the dark.
The alliance with Detective O'Malley transforms your solitary obsession into a two-person crusade. You're no longer just Detective Markson, the guy chasing a smell. You're part of a cross-state task force. Even if that task force is just you, O'Malley, and a conference call line that crackles with static. You feel a renewed sense of purpose. The smell isn't a quirk anymore, it's a calling card. The map on your corkboard is growing, pin by pin. After your breakthrough, O'Malley had the brilliant idea to send out a region-wide bulletin, not about fraud, but about the scent itself. She phrases it carefully, asking other departments about any unsolved white-collar cases involving documents or evidence with a distinctive, unidentified chemical odor. The first few days are silent. You start to think your theory was a fluke, a coincidence stretched too thin. The sergeant's skepticism returns, his morning greetings laced with a sarcastic, "Cracked the case of the stinky wallet yet, Markson?" You're becoming the precinct joke.
But then, on the fourth day, the emails start trickling in. First, a detective from a financial crimes unit 2 states over. A case from a year ago. A wealthy retiree's signature was forged on a series of stock transfers. The original documents, held in evidence, had a faint, sterile smell that the reporting officer had noted as odd but never pursued. The victim? Another person with perfect credit and a minimal online presence. Next, a report from a small university town, 18 months ago. A sophisticated scam involving fraudulent grant applications for scientific research. The forged university letterhead, when recovered, was described in the evidence log as having a sharp, almost minty, yet earthy aroma. The file had gone cold. Then another, and another. A case of mortgage fraud from 4 years back. An art forgery case from 5 years ago where the forged certificate of authenticity was noted for its unusual, clean scent. You and O'Malley work furiously, building a database, cross-referencing dates, names, and methods. A chilling pattern solidifies. This isn't a new operation. It's been running for at least 5 years. A silent, methodical campaign of high-value, low-visibility fraud. The organization is disciplined, patient, and incredibly selective in its targets. They aren't smashing windows, they are patiently dismantling lives, one forged signature at a time. The first shocking twist is the sheer scale of it all. This isn't just a handful of crimes. You've uncovered a silent epidemic, a criminal enterprise that has netted, by your conservative estimate, millions of dollars. You've pieced it all together. The enterprise has 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, target selection. They identify individuals who are financially secure but digitally dormant, the modern-day hermits of the credit world. Phase 2, document forgery. They create a flawless set of counterfeit documents, driver's licenses, social security cards, bank statements, all treated with that signature chemical to erase any trace of their creation process, leaving behind only the ghostly scent. This is where the artistry comes in. Phase 3, the hit. They use these identities for a single high-value transaction, a loan, a stock transfer, a mortgage, before the identity is burned and discarded like a cheap burner phone. The wallet you found, you realize, was from a botched hit. Maybe the courier got spooked and dumped it. It was their first mistake in 5 years. You now have a mountain of circumstantial evidence connecting a dozen cases across 4 states. You have a clear MO, a victim profile, and a signature scent. What you need is a warrant. Not just any warrant. You need to get inside the company that sold the chemical glassware to the fake Arthur Finch. I'm convinced it's a key supplier. The problem is you have to convince a judge of the same thing. You take your case to your captain, and from there to the district attorney's office. You lay it all out, the wallet, the scent, the link to O'Malley's case, the growing web of cold cases. The assistant DA, a sharp, impeccably dressed woman named Rios, listens patiently, her face unreadable. When she finishes, she leans back in her leather chair and steeples her fingers. Detective, this is a fascinating story, truly, but it's built on a house of cards. Your primary link between all these cases is a smell that you can't identify. Your key piece of evidence, the wallet, was arguably obtained through a questionable search. You're asking for a warrant to conduct surveillance on a legitimate business based on a single transaction made with a stolen credit card over a year ago. That's not probable cause. That's a fishing expedition. This is the moment of your second, more personal twist. The very system you're trying to serve is rejecting your work. Your superiors, the ones who are supposed to back you, see only liability and long-shot theories. The irony is bitter. You've uncovered a massive criminal conspiracy, but you're being blocked by the very rules designed to protect citizens from government overreach. This brings a contentious legal debate to the forefront, the standard of probable cause. The Fourth Amendment requires it for any warrant, but its definition is notoriously fluid. It's more than a bare suspicion, but less than evidence that would justify a conviction. It's a judgment call made by a judge based on the totality of the circumstances. You believe your mountain of evidence, as circumstantial as it is, easily meets that standard. The The DA's office, with its fear of having a high-profile case thrown out on a technicality, disagrees. Experts and legal scholars have debated for decades whether the standard for probable cause has become too high in the digital age, where evidence is often fragmented and circumstantial. Are we letting criminals walk free because we demand a level of certainty that is often impossible to achieve in the early stages of a complex investigation? You leave the DA's office defeated, the weight of 5 years of unpunished crimes on your shoulders. Chen claps you on the back when you return to the precinct. Hey, you win some, you lose some. At least you don't have to smell that wallet anymore. But for you, it's not over. You can't let it go. You sit at your desk, staring at the corkboard, at the map of silent victims. You've hit a wall, a legal and bureaucratic brick wall. But as you stare at the pins, a new thought begins to form. A wild, long-shot idea. If you can't go through the wall, maybe you can find a way around it. You just need to find another thread. And then you see it, something you'd overlooked, the one purchase made by the fake Arthur Finch that wasn't sent to a P.O. box. The dry cleaning receipt from a place 2 towns over. It seemed so mundane, so out of place. Why would a ghost need his clothes dry cleaned? Unless it wasn't for clothes at all.
The rejection from the DA's office feels like a physical blow. Your sprawling 5-year conspiracy has been dismissed as a fishing expedition. You're back to square one, but now the whole precinct knows you swung for the fences and struck out. The sympathetic looks from colleagues are worse than the jokes. But as you stare at your corkboard, that one anomalous detail keeps nagging at you: the dry cleaning receipt. It's the only piece of the puzzle that points to a physical location, a place where a person had to stand, interact, and drop something off. A ghost who needs to do laundry? It doesn't fit the pattern of remote digital precision. You drive out to the dry cleaner, a small family-owned shop called Sparkle & Press in a sleepy suburban strip mall. The air inside smells of steam and chemical detergents, a scent that, for a moment, you half expect to morph into the one you've been chasing. An elderly man with a kind face and a tape measure draped around his neck looks up from behind the counter. You show him your badge and a photo of the fake Arthur Finch's driver's license, the bland, forgettable man. "I know it's a long shot," you begin, "but do you recognize this man? He would have been in about a year ago." The owner, Mr. Kim, squints at the photo. "A year ago? Officer, I see 100 faces a day. They all start to look the same." He's about to hand it back when he pauses. He taps the photo. "Wait a minute. I don't know the face, but the name on your file, Finch. I remember the order, not the man." This is your first real break. You remember the order? Why? Because it was strange. He didn't bring in clothes. He brought in a bag of fabrics, just squares of different materials, leather, canvas, heavy cotton. He wanted them all dry cleaned, but he was very specific. He said, no starch, no scent, just the standard chemical solvent wash, triple cycle. Mr. Kim shakes his head. "I've been in this business 40 years. People are particular about their suits, their wedding dresses. No one is that particular about a scrap of leather." The pieces click into place with an audible snap in your mind. He wasn't cleaning clothes, he was testing materials. He needed to find the perfect fabric that could be chemically scrubbed of all trace evidence but would still hold up. The wallet wasn't just a tool, it was the result of research and development. This criminal isn't just a forger, he's a material scientist. This is the first surprising twist of this new lead, the depth of the perpetrator's meticulous planning. This revelation fuels a new, more focused hunt. The criminal mastermind behind this operation is clearly a perfectionist, an artisan. You and O'Malley start calling him the Alchemist, a name that feels theatrical and fitting. An alchemist is someone who tries to turn lead into gold. This person turns clean credit histories into cold, hard cash. The name sticks. You're not just hunting a fraudster anymore, you're hunting the Alchemist. Your focus shifts from the victims to the craft itself.
Where would someone learn these skills? The art forgery, the chemical washing, the high-end printing. It's a unique combination. You and O'Malley divide the labor. She starts digging into the art forgery world, cross-referencing names from the old case with known forgers and art restoration experts. You focus on the chemical and printing angle. You start pulling yearbooks and alumni records from technical colleges and universities known for their graphic design and chemistry programs. It's a painstaking analog process, looking for any overlap, any student who excelled in both disciplines. It's like looking for a single needle in a continent-sized haystack. Weeks turn to a month. The trail goes cold again. You're slogging through digital archives, your eyes blurring from old student records. Then O'Malley calls, her voice electric. "Markson, I've got him. Or at least, I've got a ghost." She found a name connected to the art forgery case from 5 years ago, a consultant named Julian Croft. He was an expert in pigment analysis and paper aging, hired by the gallery to authenticate the piece. The piece was later found to be a fake, but Croft himself was cleared of any wrongdoing. He was considered a respected, if eccentric, genius in his field. But here's the odd detail. Julian Croft disappeared 2 months after the investigation closed. He cleared out his apartment, sold his consulting business, and vanished. No forwarding address, no new life started anywhere else. He simply ceased to exist. On a hunch, O'Malley ran his photo from his old consulting firm's website through a facial recognition program, comparing it against DMV databases. Nothing. But then she compared it to the photo on the fake Arthur Finch's driver's license. It's not a match, but it's close. The bone structure is similar, the hairline, the shape of the ears. It's like a slightly altered version, a digitally retouched and aged photograph. It's the second twist. The Alchemist isn't using stock photos or images of random strangers for his forged IDs. He's using his own face, subtly disguised. It's an act of supreme arrogance, hiding in plain sight. The existence of a suspect like Julian Croft, the Alchemist, raises a fascinating unresolved debate in criminology, the theory of the criminal mastermind. For years, the prevailing view has been that such figures are largely a myth, a romantic creation of fiction. Most large criminal organizations, the theory goes, are messy, decentralized, and run by committee or brute force, not by a single brilliant intellect. Yet cases like this challenge that notion. The 5-year span of the operation, its meticulous discipline, its unique, unchanging signature, it all points to a single controlling vision. Experts are still divided on whether a lone genius can truly orchestrate such a complex, long-running conspiracy without being caught, or if there's always a hidden structure of lieutenants and foot soldiers doing the dirty work. You now have a name and a face, however disguised. You're no longer chasing a scent, you're hunting a man who calls himself Julian Croft. A man who is so confident in his craft that he puts his own face on his forgeries. A man who for 5 years has been a ghost in the machine. But now you know his name, and you know that ghosts can be caught. The hunt for the Alchemist has officially begun.
The name Julian Croft energizes the investigation. He's no longer a scent or a theory. He's a person. A highly intelligent, dangerously arrogant person who uses his own face as a canvas for his crimes. You and O'Malley work your respective ends, digging into the life Croft abandoned. You discover he was a brilliant student, a double major in chemistry and fine arts, a combination that made his professors scratch their heads, but now makes perfect sense to you. He was a loner, an intense academic who published papers on 17th century pigment restoration techniques. Then, 5 years ago, he cashed out and walked away from a promising career to become a ghost. The problem is, a ghost leaves no trail. There are no credit cards, no property records, no digital footprint for Julian Croft. The Alchemist, it seems, practices what he preaches. If you're going to build an empire on stolen identities, you can't have one of your own. The hunt stalls. You have the who,
but you have no where. The break comes from the most mundane of places, the mail. Remember those P.O. boxes and third-party mail drops the fake Arthur Finch used? You had assumed they were all burned, abandoned after one use. But on a hunch, you get a warrant to check the mail forwarding records for the parent companies that own these mail drop franchises. It's a tedious, bureaucratic slog. For weeks, you get nothing but dead ends. Then, you find it. A single, overlooked connection. One of the mail drops used in the Finch case had its unclaimed mail forwarded not to a return address, but to another mail drop in a different city. And that one, in turn, forwarded its mail to another. You've found the Alchemist's daisy chain, a hidden postal network designed to anonymously move packages and documents across the country. It's a brilliant, low-tech system that bypasses digital surveillance entirely. By pulling on this thread, you painstakingly unspool a chain of 6 different mail drops, ending at a small, unassuming mailbox rental store in a quiet industrial park just outside your city. This is it, the end of the line. This is where the mail stops forwarding. This is where the Alchemist or one of his people physically picks it up. You finally have a location. The DA's office, seeing a tangible target, signs off on a full surveillance operation. For 2 weeks, you and a team of undercover officers sit in unmarked vans, drinking stale coffee and watching the mailbox store. You see dozens of people come and go. Small business owners, people running side hustles, private citizens. No one matches the photo of Julian Croft. The frustration is mounting. Maybe he sent a courier, a cutout. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, a man walks in. He's not Julian Croft. He's a younger man, maybe late 20s, with nervous energy and eyes that never stop scanning the street. He unlocks mailbox number 227, removes a stack of envelopes, and walks out. Your gut screams that this is your guy. You follow him. He drives a beat-up sedan, obeying every traffic law, a model of cautious driving. He leads you to a modest apartment complex on the other side of town. This is your chance. You have a suspect and a location. You assemble a team for a sting operation. The plan is simple. You'll have a postal inspector attempt a controlled delivery to mailbox number 227, a package containing a GPS tracker. When the suspect picks it up and takes it back to the main hideout, the Alchemist's lab, you'll move in. The day of the sting is tense. You watch on a monitor as the nervous young man, whom you've tentatively identified as the courier, enters the store. He opens the mailbox, takes the package, and leaves. Everything is going according to plan. You follow him back to the apartment complex. He goes inside. The GPS tracker doesn't move. An hour passes, then 2. He's not taking the package to the Alchemist. This apartment is the destination. The first twist of the operation hits you. This isn't just a courier. This is a lieutenant. This apartment is likely a hub, a workshop. The decision is made to go in. The entry is fast and clean. You burst through the door to find the courier frantically trying to destroy evidence. Not in a paper shredder, but with fire. He's desperately tossing documents into a small, smoldering brazier in the middle of his living room. The air is thick with the familiar, acrid, sweet chemical scent. You found a nest. The apartment is a forger's paradise. High-end printers, stacks of blank cardstock, embossers and laminators, and bottles of the strange-smelling chemical solution. You've caught a key player, and you have enough evidence to dismantle this entire cell. The courier, whose real name is Kevin, crumbles under interrogation. He's not a hardened criminal, just a brilliant but desperate graphic designer who got in over his head. He admits to creating the documents, but he insists he never met the boss. All his instructions and his payments came through encrypted messages and dead drops. He only knows him by his handle, The Alchemist. Just as you're celebrating the win, the second, more shocking twist unfolds. While cataloging the evidence from the apartment, a forensics tech makes a bizarre discovery. Tucked away in a shoebox is a collection of old, faded photographs. They're not pictures of Kevin or his family, they're pictures of Chen. Not just one or two, but dozens. Chen at a police charity event. Chen getting coffee. Chen laughing with his wife. They're surveillance photos, taken over the last year. Suddenly, the pieces rearrange themselves in your head with sickening clarity. The wallet. It wasn't found in the civilian lost and found bin by chance. It was placed there. Placed in the one precinct, in the one evidence room where it was most likely to be processed by a specific person, Detective Chen. But you were the one on duty that day. You picked it up by mistake. The odd detail that you could never explain, why the wallet was dropped at a police station, is suddenly clear. It was a message or a trap. But the final, gut-wrenching betrayal comes when the lab analyzes the chemical from the apartment. They finally identify the core components. One of them is a rare, plant-based solvent used in, of all things, the restoration of antique paper. It's exactly the kind of thing Julian Croft would use. But the other main component is a standard-issue cleaning solvent, one used exclusively by the city's contract cleaners who service government buildings, including your own precinct. This is the source of the lingering debate among your team. How could the scent be both exotic and commonplace? The answer is a paradox. The Alchemist had access to both. The scent wasn't just on the evidence. It was in the very air of the police station. The Alchemist wasn't just a ghost you were hunting. He had a man on the inside. Or worse, he was inside. And all signs now point to the last person you would ever suspect.
The world tilts on its axis. The drive back to the precinct is a blur of streetlights and creeping dread. The surveillance photos of Chen lying on the passenger seat like an accusation. Your partner. The one person in this whole mess you thought you could trust. Every shared joke, every complaint about the bad coffee is now cast in a sinister new light. The Alchemist wasn't just a ghost, he was a viper you'd shared a desk with. The betrayal is so profound it feels physical, a cold knot in your stomach. You bypass the squad room and go straight to the interrogation rooms in the back, the photos clutched in your hand. You call Chen and tell him to meet you there, your voice betraying nothing. When he walks in, smiling, asking, "What's up?" you don't say a word. You just lay the photos out on the cold steel table. His smile vanishes. He stares at the images of himself, his wife, his life, all captured by a hostile, unseen lens. His face drains of color. He looks up at you, his eyes wide with confusion and fear so genuine, it stops you cold. "Mark, what is this? Where did you get these?" "From the apartment of the Alchemist forger," you say, your voice flat. And in that moment you see it. This isn't the reaction of a guilty man caught. This is the horror of a man realizing he's been a target. This is the first jarring twist of the night. Chen isn't the perpetrator. He was the intended recipient of the frame job. The wallet, you realize with a sickening lurch, was never meant for you. It was planted to be found by Chen. If he'd been on duty that day instead of you, he would have found it, his fingerprints would have been on it, and these photos would have been the nail in his coffin. The Alchemist wasn't trying to send a message to the police. He was meticulously setting up one of their own. "But why me?" Chen whispers, sinking into a chair. The question hangs in the sterile air. Why go to such elaborate lengths to frame a mid-level property crimes detective? You look at the photos again, your mind racing, recalibrating 5 years of crime through this new lens. The Alchemist is precise. He doesn't do random. There has to be a reason. You and Chen start tearing through his old case files, looking for any connection, however remote, to a Julian Croft, to art forgery, to anything. After an hour, you find it. It's a minor case from 6 years ago, a year before the Alchemist operation even began. A simple B&E. A young man, a chemistry grad student, was arrested for breaking into a university lab to steal rare chemical compounds. He claimed it was for a research project. The arresting officer? A rookie patrolman named Chen. The student's name was Julian Croft.
He was convicted and served a short sentence. He got out, disappeared, and a year later, the first fraud case with a signature sent appeared. This whole elaborate 5-year criminal enterprise, it was all built on a petty grudge, a vendetta against the cop who made the arrest. The second twist of the night is the sheer pathetic smallness of the motive. It wasn't about the money, it was about revenge. But Croft is a ghost. How do you find the ghost? You're back at the beginning, except for one thing: the chemical signature, the exotic solvent mixed with the precinct's cleaning fluid. And then there's the odd, nagging detail you pulled for Mr. Kim at the dry cleaners, a detail that seemed irrelevant at the time. The man who dropped off the fabrics had complained about his allergies, specifically to dust. A strange comment for a meticulous chemist who works in a sterile lab. It's this detail that finally shatters the case open. The investigation has been suffering from a classic case of what criminologists call investigative tunnel vision. You were so focused on the idea of a brilliant young chemist, Julian Croft, the Alchemist, that you ignored evidence pointing in a completely different direction. This is a common failing in major cases, where investigators lock onto a compelling narrative and subconsciously filter out information that doesn't fit. The legal debate around it is fierce. How do you train officers to avoid this natural human tendency? How many wrongful convictions are the result of a plausible story trumping contradictory facts? You shake yourself free from the tunnel. You stop looking for a chemist. You start looking for someone with dust allergies, someone who has unfettered access to the entire precinct, every office, every lab, every evidence locker, someone who is so much a part of the background that you never truly see them. You pull the security footage for the evidence room from the night the wallet was planted, but you don't look for cops. You fast forward to the late night hours, and there he is, a member of the janitorial staff, a quiet, older man moving methodically with his cart. He mops the floor, empties the trash. Then for just a second, he pauses by the lost and found bin. His back is to the camera, but you see him reach into his coveralls and then casually drop something small and dark into the bin. He finishes his rounds and leaves, invisible. You pull his employee file. His name is Robert Croft. He's 62 years old, and in the spot for emergency contact, he listed his son, Julian. The final chilling twist lands. You haven't been hunting the Alchemist. You've been hunting his father. Robert Croft is a retired chemical engineer who took a janitor's job to be close to the system that jailed his son. Julian may have been the genius that started it, but after his arrest, it was the father, the unassuming old man emptying your trash cans, who refined it, perfected it, and turned it into an instrument of revenge against the man who arrested his boy. He used his access to the precinct's own supplies to perfect his solvent, the scent of his work hiding within the scent of the building itself, hiding in plain sight. The arrest is silent. You and Chen find him in the boiler room, mixing chemicals on a small, neat workbench. He doesn't resist. He simply looks up, his eyes tired but sharp, and says, "I knew it was you who found the wallet. You have a look about you. You notice things. That was my mistake." He confesses to everything, detailing how he built an empire right under your nose. An empire built to ruin one good cop, brought down because you notice a strange smell on a piece of worn leather. The scent of justice, it turns out, is sharp, clinical, and smells a little bit like revenge. And so the web woven by Robert Croft, the quiet janitor, the vengeful father, finally unravels. It's a quiet ending to a storm that raged silently for 5 years. A multi-million-dollar fraud empire, a phantom mastermind who walked the same halls as the detectives hunting him, all undone by a single stubborn detective and an odor that just didn't belong. It's a stark reminder that in the grand theater of crime, the most devastating secrets are often not hidden in complex digital vaults, but in the plain sensory details of the world around us. The things we see, hear, and in this case, smell, every single day without a second thought. The case of the scented wallet serves as a quiet monument to the power of paying attention, to the instinct that whispers when something is just not right. Thank you for joining me on this journey tonight.
for letting this story fill the quiet corners of your evening. This weekly ritual we have is something I look forward to all week, and I'm genuinely grateful for your time and your focus. If you found yourself leaning in, holding your breath, or just enjoyed the ride, a like and a comment go a long way in telling the mysterious overlords of the algorithm that we're doing something special here. And if you know someone else who appreciates a slow burn story that gets under your skin, feel free to share it with them. More cases are waiting in the wings, each with their own ghosts and their own strange, unforgettable details. Until next time, be well.